It was late October 2016 when I picked up an overnight shift at a rural gas station just outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. I wasn't a regular employee. I was covering for a friend who had to leave town suddenly. He told me it would be easy. Money. Just keep the place open. Clean the counters. Maybe sell a few snacks to tired truckers or night shift workers, he'd said. Nothing ever really happens out there. I believed him. I brought a thermos of coffee, my headphones, and even a book. It was a small place, just two pumps and a tiny shop with one long counter and a fridge full of energy drinks. No bathroom. For customers. No cameras either, which seemed odd even for a place that remote. The air outside was dry and cold. There were no streetlights on that stretch of road, only the buzzing fluorescent bulbs above the station's door and the faint glow from the inside freezer. The clock behind the register read 2:13 a.m. when I started to get that sense. The one where you suddenly notice how quiet everything has gotten. No cars had passed in over an hour. My phone barely had signal. I stood behind the counter, just sipping my coffee and reading. At 2:29, I looked up, and there he was. A man standing just outside the glass door. He hadn't pulled up in a car. I hadn't heard footsteps. But there he was, tall, thin, wrapped in a dark jacket zipped up to the neck. I remember his hands, bare and pale, held too stiffly at his sides, like he wasn't sure what to do with them. His face was mostly in shadow, except for the glint of his eyes. Wide open, unblinking. I stared at him for a few seconds, expecting him to move. Maybe reach for the handle, wave, something. But he just stood there, not blinking, not tilting his head, nothing. I was frozen for a moment. Then I stepped forward and unlocked the door with a shaky hand. It creaked as it opened. Hey. I said, need something. He didn't answer. Just walked slowly, deliberately, toward the back of the store, toward the cooler. I tried to watch him casually, pretending not to be creeped out, but something about him was wrong. Not drunk wrong. Not drugged wrong. Just wrong. He stopped in front of the fridge and stood there. Didn't open it, didn't move. Just stared into it, not at any specific item. Just the glass. I cleared my throat. Everything okay? He didn't look at me, didn't speak. I stepped closer, just a few feet away now. I noticed he wasn't breathing heavily, or even at all. I couldn't hear a thing from him. Then, very slowly, he turned his head, not his body. Just his head. To look straight at me. His eyes were wide open, glossy, reflecting the blue of the fridge light. I don't know how long we held eye contact, but I remember one thing very clearly. He never blinked. Then he said something so quiet, I almost didn't hear it. There's someone in the back room. I blinked. What? He didn't repeat it. I turned quickly toward the back storage door. It was shut, just like it had been all night. I looked back at the man, but he was already walking away toward the exit. Hey, wait, what did you say? He didn't turn around. He pushed open the glass door and walked back into the dark. No car, no footsteps on gravel, just gone. I stood there for a minute, breathing hard, staring into the dark. Then I turned toward the back room. It's worth mentioning that I hadn't gone back there at all during my shift. My friend had told me to leave the light off and not bother. It's just boxes of chips and cleaning supplies. He'd said but now I couldn't stop thinking about what the man had said. There's someone in the back room. I stood in front of the door for maybe 10 minutes, my hand on the knob. My breath loud in the silence. Eventually I opened it. The room was pitch black. I reached for the switch and flicked it on. The fluorescent light flickered once, twice. Then hummed. To life. Empty. Just cardboard boxes, shelves, and a mop bucket. Nothing else. I laughed a little at myself, a short, dry sound. Just some weird guy trying to scare me, right? I shut the door, but the moment I turned back toward the counter, I froze. On the counter, the one I had just wiped 10 minutes earlier, was a coin. A single quarter, standing perfectly upright. On its edge. I hadn't left it there. Nobody else had come in. Nobody had touched that counter except me. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the coin and checked the cameras. And that's when I remembered. There weren't any. When my shift ended, I left without saying a word to the guy who came in. I just walked out, barely looking back. I never picked up another overnight shift there. A week later, my friend texted me, "Yo, did you go into the back room? I found a coin standing up back there, like perfectly balanced." Freaked me out. I stared at the message, wondering if he was messing with me. But something in my gut said he wasn't. I still think about that man. The way he looked at me got like he wasn't the only one watching. In late summer of 2019, I was working the night shift at a gas station off Interstate 10, just outside Deming, New Mexico. The place was a relic, half-broken pumps, flickering signs, and a store that smelled like warm plastic and old cigarettes. I wasn't supposed to be alone. Normally, night shifts were covered by 2 people, but the other guy called out sick, and management didn't have anyone to cover. They gave me a hazard bonus of an extra $50 to run the store solo. At the time, I needed the money more than I needed the peace of mind that it was a Thursday night, humid and windless. Dead quiet outside except for the distant hum of crickets and an occasional rig blowing by on the highway. We had 5 pumps, but only 4 worked. Pump 3 hadn't been functional in over a year. Still had the yellow out-of-order sleeve over the handle, duct tape on the card reader. The works, I had the radio on low behind the counter, some local late-night station playing old country and static. The clock on the register read 2:07 a.m. when I first heard it, a voice dot, it was faint. At first, I thought it was the radio, but it didn't match the music or the commercials. It was low, breathy, and broken up, like someone whispering through an old intercom system. It came. From outside, I leaned over the counter and stared through the glass. The lot was empty. No headlights. No movement. The voice came again, slightly clearer. "Hey, can you hear me?" I stepped around the counter, pushed open the door, and stepped out into the warm night air. The voice stopped instantly. I scanned the lot. Nothing but shadows and gravel. Then I saw Pump 3, the broken one. I stared at it for a while. No one was there, obviously. The station didn't even have outdoor speakers. It wasn't connected to anything except a dead card reader and a corroded nozzle. I walked toward it slowly, the gravel crunching under my shoes. When I reached it, I circled around. Nothing behind it, no loose wires, no open panels. I even looked inside the nozzle housing. Empty. I shook my head, told myself it was my imagination. Too much caffeine, sleep deprivation, whatever. I went back inside. Not 2 minutes later, the voice came again. Clearer this time, still breathy. "Please, pump 3. I froze. It didn't sound desperate. It sounded insistent, calm, almost bored. I looked at the security monitor. 4 grainy black and white feeds showing the lot. No movement. The voice repeated. "Pump 3, help." Now it sounded closer, like it was inside the store. I turned around. Nothing. The door hadn't chimed. I was still alone, but now I noticed something on the counter. A receipt, fresh from the register, fluttering slightly in the breeze of the ceiling fan. I picked it up. The timestamp read 2:30 a.m. item. Fuel pump 3. Amount $0. There was no customer. No card swipe. Nothing. It shouldn't have printed at all. I ripped the receipt in half and tossed it. Then the lights flickered. Just once. Enough to cast shadows crawling across the ceiling for a second. Enough to make me step back toward the counter and reach for the phone. No signal. I grabbed my backup flip phone. Same thing. Dead bar. The voice came again. But now it was right behind me. I said pump 3. I turned around so fast I nearly knocked over the rack of candy bars. No. One was there, but the receipt printer started again. Click. A second receipt spat out. Pump 3, $0. I stared at it. Then the door chimed, but no one came in. I stepped out, heart hammering, skin damp with sweat. The air outside was thicker now, heavier, not hot, just oppressive. Pump three's yellow. Sleeve had fallen off. The nozzle dangled freely, and next to it, clear as day, were footprints in the dust, barefoot, facing the pump. Then turning and walking toward the back of the station, I didn't follow. Instead, I ran back inside and locked the door. For the next hour, I sat behind the counter with the store phone in one hand and a tire iron in the other, staring at the security feed dot at exactly 3:33 a.m. The printer spat out a third receipt dot same thing. Pump 3, $0. The following morning, I told my manager everything. He gave me a blank stare for a second, then chuckled. People always hear it weird. Shit at that pump. I asked him what he meant. Before it broke down, there was a guy who used to come in every night. Same time, bought a pack of Marlboros and filled up at pump 3 every night. Then one night, he parked there, but never came inside. Just sat in the car for hours. We found him the next morning. He'd been shot. Self-inflicted. Left the pump running until it was bone dry. He paused, then said something that chilled. We never replaced the nozzle. That's the original one. His hand was still holding it when they found him. That was my last night shift. I haven't stopped for gas after midnight since. But sometimes, when I drive by that stretch and I can, and the static kicks in on the radio, ... I swear I hear it. Pump 3, please. In the spring of 2012, I was traveling cross-country with my girlfriend at the time. We were doing one of those see America before we settled down road trips, sleeping in cheap hotels, eating gas station snacks, taking turns behind the wheel. One night, somewhere in central Nebraska, she got a migraine, and we pulled off the highway looking for a place to rest and grab something cold. We found this old gas station a few miles down a side road. No chain branding, just a fading sign that said, Parker's Fuel and Goods. It was barely lit. One flickering sign above the pumps, and a single strip of light inside the convenience store. The parking lot was cracked and weedy, and a crooked open sign hung in the window. Half-lit . She stayed in the car, holding her head. While I got out, there was no one behind the counter. The store was dim, the coolers humming louder than necessary, and it smelled like bleach and something metallic. There were old snack brands I hadn't seen since the 90s, and some cans without labels at all. I called out a quiet, hello? Nothing. Then I noticed a small bell on the counter, like one of those you tap to get service at a motel. I reached out and pressed it. Ding. Silence. Then, from somewhere behind the counter, I heard footsteps. Slow, uneven. A figure emerged from a doorway in the back. An older man, maybe in his 60s, pale, wearing a uniform that didn't fit quite. Right, the name patch was blank. His eyes were off, wide and shiny, but sunken. He smiled without teeth. Just you tonight? I hesitated. No, my girlfriend's in the car. She's not feeling well. He nodded very slowly. That's fine. We're open. Sort of. I didn't know what he meant by that. I grabbed a bottle of water and a bag of crackers, then approached the counter. He rang them up on an ancient cash register that made mechanical clunks. I handed him cash, and he took it without looking down. His eyes never left mine. As I turned to leave. He said something odd. Hope she feels better. It's a bad night for pain. I didn't answer. Just walked out fast. As I opened the car door, I noticed something strange. My girlfriend was sitting up right now, looking out the window, totally still. When I got in, she turned to me and said, "That place is closed." I blinked. What do you mean? I saw the sign when we pulled in. It said closed for maintenance. Big red letters. I turned back to the store. The open sign was gone. The inside lights were off. Pitch black. But I had just been inside. I had the water and crackers in my lap. I still had the receipt, printed with today's date. I stepped out of the car again. The pumps were off. The store was dark. And now, standing just inside the glass door, was the man, still smiling, still watching. I got back in the car and told her to buckle up. We drove fast. 10 minutes later. We hit another gas station, this one a chain. Bright, loud, normal. I asked the attendant behind the counter if she knew about a place called Parker's Fuel and Goods down the road. She frowned. That place hasn't been open since maybe 2003. It shut down after some guy shot himself behind the counter. Sad story. Locals tried to reopen it once or twice, but nobody sticks around there long. I looked at the bottle of water in my hand. The label said Parker's Premium since 1979. I didn't drink it. I still have the receipt though. It sits in my desk drawer at home.no, BRTODE.no. Phone number dot, just one line of printed text at the bottom. Thanks for staying with us.